I have completed my next experiment, my addiction experiment for the 20 and 25 nic vaping. So I vaped 20 and 25 nic for the 3 weeks and then went a full month without any nicotine. And today is the 1 month point. So I can now vape again if I choose. So I figured I'd update on how that went. It wasn't that difficult. I was surprised. I thought it would be more difficult. I think for some reason it wasn't as difficult to stop vaping as it was the 100 cigarettes experiment. And one thing I'm wondering is if it could be because I've done multiple of these experiments now. And maybe since the 100 cigarettes experiment was the first one I did, maybe that was why it was the most difficult. Other than maybe the triple threat experiment, but that was different substances, so I'm kind of excluding that in this comparison. So maybe, I expected vaping the 20 and 25 to be more addictive and more difficult to quit than the cigarettes, because it's more enjoyable to me. It seems like about the same hit of nicotine, except the difference is it tastes better, so I enjoy it more, and it's more practical. So I thought that would make it more appealing, more addictive to me. But now that I've done like four addiction experiments before this with nicotine, I did 100 cigarettes, then 3 nic vaping, then I did 50 cigarettes, then I did 10 value nic. I can't even remember anymore. And then I did, more than I thought. Then I did the triple threat, which included vaping. So I guess this is my 6th addiction experiment with nicotine that I finished. So maybe after doing that many, I've been starting to think it makes it easier each time to quit cold turkey for my experiments. The more I do it, the easier it is. I'm thinking maybe it's hard to know if that's the real effect of why this time was less addictive. It kind of makes sense to me, though. So one point that I wanted to mention was the physical dependency on nicotine compared to the mental appeal, the mental addiction. A lot of people, I think, get the idea that cigarettes or vaping is so addictive because it's physically addictive. That's one thing that sets it apart from anything else, because anything could be mentally addictive as long as you enjoy it. But I get the feeling people think that the physical dependency is what makes it really addictive, which might be true, but I find that only lasts like 3 days. So if that was true, then all you would have to do is, what I found, all you would have to do is stop smoking or vaping for 3 days, get over that 3-day withdrawal period, and then it should be easy. But I think it's a lot more than physical dependency. I think a huge part of it is the mental appeal, which is caused by the dopamine hit. But that does make sense why cigarettes would be more mentally addictive as well than a lot of other things, because it's a direct effect of causing dopamine. So it'd be a lot more common for it to happen rather than any other thing. Anything could cause a hit of dopamine depending on you. And I've found, so overall I found that a big part of it is triggers. Like what triggers the subconscious craving for the cigarettes. Since it's, at least what I think is, it's subconscious conditioning towards it. The dopamine makes you want that without even knowing it. So it makes sense that there'd be certain triggers within circumstances that you've done it before. So however you normally smoke cigarettes or vape, those, whatever similar circumstances there are, if you come across those circumstances again later, then of course that's gonna trigger the craving. That's kind of obvious, I guess, but I've noticed that a lot. Especially for me, it's been a couple times just more like my emotional circumstance that kind of triggered a craving more than anything. Regular circumstances didn't really seem to do much, at least within this experiment. With the starting experiment, I think it did with the 100 cigarettes. I had more cravings when I would see other people smoking cigarettes or smell it or something, but this time I just sort of forgot about it right away, almost, I guess, after withdrawal was over. I just forgot about it, and even though I thought I had habits built, it didn't really seem to trigger anything. I think the biggest, easiest way to counteract the addiction is just overpowering the subconscious appeal, which is being unaware. So if you're just aware of the circumstances, analyze the details in the time, actively analyze the details of causes and effect. That's what I found can be the best way to overpower it. Also repeating, at least what I've done, and what I think is repeating these tests seems to build strength, I think, just by understanding the circumstances. Once I consciously understand the cause and effect of addiction, it makes it easier to overpower. And I'm probably also conditioning my subconscious the more I do it, the more experiments I do. What else do I want to mention? Oh, so when I was vaping before, I did a couple times test vaping after cigarettes just to see if there was really any difference, because if cigarettes do something that vaping doesn't, then I should be able to feel something after vaping. So when I was vaping the 20-25 nic, I would vape a bunch until I felt like I maxed out the dopamine hit, and then tried smoking cigarettes after that to see if it did anything. I did that a few times just to test it, and it didn't seem to do anything. That was just my findings. So based on my experience of that, it seems like there's nothing really that cigarettes does that's appealing compared to vaping, at least if you're vaping 20 or 25 equivalent nicotine value. I could be wrong, because it could be my subjective perception and experience, but that's what I found. Well, I think that's pretty much it. This will be the first time I've vaped in over a month, right around a month, because I had it on my calendar, and then let's see. I forget what it feels like really after this long. I actually forget what it's like. That tasted good. I think I might feel it already. I don't think it should hit me that fast. It doesn't seem like there's as much vapor coming out as there normally would be. That'll probably hit me soon. As for future experiments, I'm not sure at this point. I don't have anything planned specifically. And my plan for vaping from now on is to avoid being physically dependent on it, on the nicotine. So avoid getting up to the point where I will be in withdrawal if I don't have nicotine. So I want to keep vaping, but only for certain circumstances. And not too much that it makes me physically dependent, because then I'll be in withdrawal every once in a while, which is annoying. And that should be a better way of avoiding being addicted. That's basically what I try to do with coffee, similar thing. Try to avoid getting up to the point where I'm physically dependent, because then every once in a while you go in withdrawal if you don't have it. And also I find that if it has less of a positive effect when you do it if you're already physically dependent. Maybe my vape juice went bad after I left it sitting for so long. So I was considering for another addiction experiment. I was considering doing alcohol again, since that was one of the toughest things for me, I think. Or at least there was a few circumstances where I had a big craving for alcohol when I did the triple threat addiction experiment and quit alcohol for 3 weeks. Or I could try something new, like unhealthy food. I feel like that won't be much of a test, because I feel like I won't really get addicted, but I could try it anyway. Or maybe I'm done with experiments for now. I don't know. I think that's pretty much it. Ace is happy. That's Ace. That's Wiley. Mascots. Tired out from the run earlier today. Alright, that's it.